Hi everyone, I'm back again. I wanted to continue our discussion on this whole aspect of the narcissistic ex and the divorce process. And I did 2 videos yesterday. I posted them on my page, and I wanted to touch on some of the things that make our experience so profound. Is 2 things. Embarrassment, number 1. Embarrassment causes us to become silent. And if we review our marriages and our relationships over the years with these fathers or father of our children, we'll start to see the embarrassment as it builds and builds and builds us to become silent about what we're experiencing and going through. Number 1, that's the embarrassment. Number 2, it's envy. The envy that drives these fathers is another aspect of their I can't even say personality, because they have none. They basically envy everybody else, and they want to acquire what everybody else has. They want to acquire not just the material things, but the person's personality, that the person they're with or the person they select to be partnered up with in public. I don't know if any of you would care to take a look at your past and see how that all plays into where we are today in the court system and in reference to our children. Now, pair some narcissists and put them all together, like the ones in court, with these fathers and the fathers' rights movement, and you have a war against one person, the mom, that she is not prepared to fight, because mothers such as myself, we think most people are good. I don't know about everybody else, but that's how I am. And we give the benefit of the doubt. We even go as far as making excuses for bad behavior, which we shouldn't do, but somehow we do it because it benefits our children. And in one way or another, to have a home life that we would like for them to experience. We want our children to experience a normal childhood. We don't want them to be statistics of divorce. We know the results of divorce, so we do our best to stay engaged in these marriages and in these relationships with the fathers of our children for the benefit of the children. So when things do get out of hand and we do have to make the decision, to move on, it just opens up the door for everything else to fall apart, especially when the spouse or the father doesn't want that. And naturally they wouldn't want that, because they have acquired a lifestyle and a way of living that if you subtract yourself from it, it's going to fall apart for them. And inevitably they will want the children to fall apart with them, as much as you may try not to allow that to happen. So the fatherhood.gov and the fathers' rights movement, they came up with all these clauses, and in collaboration with the police, by the way. I know personally I had a difficult time having a restraining order served. The police wouldn't do it. eventually they did it, but it took about 4 hours of me running around for it to get served. And all of that was played out in court as if I committed the crime, as if I was wrong to do what I did. And the whole crux of domestic violence law is you don't have to be physically abused. You have to have the fear of being physically abused. The fear of it alone is enough to evoke the law into action, and the necessary steps the police and all the organizations involved in the protection and execution of this law are supposed to utilize and protect the mother and the children. But that's all changed, as we discovered, and the father ends up being the one protected. And I know, for example, during mediation, one of the things his attorney brought up was how he slept on a couch. I think I mentioned this in my posts over the year. He slept on a couch during the time, the 2-week time frame of the restraining order being served and the hearing taking place. And he did communicate with me during that 2-week time frame by email. There's even proof of it, and that's against the law. His attorney said that I hacked into his email and sent myself a email so that I could incriminate him. Yes, I am not a hacking genius, so that's virtually impossible. However, the judge bought it because they're all colluded, as we know. I think they get bonuses from the Fathers' Rights Movement when they collude with a woman's or a mother's attorney. The restraining order was quashed in court, and his lawyer said that he was sleeping on a couch. During mediation, she mentioned that as if he was supposed to get extra compensation for sleeping on a couch, when I had to bring it to their attention that there's so many U.S. military men sleeping in sand, in the desert, in different countries, uncomfortable. So why is a non-U.S. citizen going to need extra money for sleeping on a couch in the United States? I'm giving you some of these details to show you the ludicrous arguments that are used in court. And one of the things they didn't expect was for me to renew my license after being a stay-at-home mom for a few years with my special needs son. So once I did do that, I had the courage and the strength to review the whole process and go back in to make some changes, because the father's behavior only got worse. You know, you give an inch, they take a mile. And especially in reference to the children, the emotional abuse that is meted upon us through the children becomes exponential after the divorce is finalized. It's as if this father cannot move on with his own life, and he cannot survive. He cannot do better for himself. He's just it feels as if he's hell-bent on making your life a living hell for leaving him. And to hell with the children. He'll treat them any way he wants to. He uses parental alienation. Now, I know my ex-husband is not very intelligent. I will say that very clearly. Okay, he's smart, but there's a difference between being smart and intelligent. And basically everything he's done is what he was trained to do. And I believe it's through the Fathers' Rights Movement. I believe they do workshops and they teach these fathers how to maneuver and manipulate until they have sole custody of the children. And maybe some of these workshops contain, they distribute information on how to abuse us, especially on a psychological level, and using the children. Now, these workshops, I believe, are also tailored to some degree by behavior analysts and psychologists who are part of the movement. When a guardian ad litem was assigned to my case, which was earlier this year, I asked him, "Are you a member of the Fathers' Rights Movement?" He never responded. I told him, "I will not attend your appointment until you disclose if you're a member of the Fathers' Rights Movement." And he never responded. Anyway, out of continuing to trying to be cooperative, I did attend the appointment, and his input in the case has been grossly negligent, and I expected he's colluded with the lawyers and the psychologists that they keep sending my way, that I keep deflecting, and I do so. It's not against the law. I haven't broken a law. I will teach you how to do that, by the way. In the meantime, I wanted to touch once more on this issue with the fathers of our children who have no qualms about putting us through this experience. This whole concept of jealousy and envy. And if you do review, I don't know if I'd mentioned it earlier, the course of your relationship with this person, you will see elements of envy and jealousy that are not easily ignored. I mean, it can range from anything where he's jealous of your education, he's jealous of your socioeconomic status, he's jealous of your background or your family background, he may be envious of your friends or the type of friends you have. I mean, he's assessing you constantly and finding a reason to be hateful. And you may not think much of it during the course of your relationship, but of course, through the divorce process, you become very aware of how all these puzzle pieces fit together to land you in the position you're in today and your children. So I think I'm going to close here because there's so much to cover. There so many aspects of this situation, and I feel it for you ladies, because being that I am a clinical social worker, that I had to reharness my full respect for myself after they annihilated me in court. And in doing that, I had to remember the things I accomplished. I had to remember how hard I worked for them, and how wrong, how offended I was that these people would think it's normal, or try to play it off as if it's normal, that what they've done is okay, and it's not. And I am not going to accept it. I will not accept it. And I want to ask you ladies to have the same mindset, no matter what your background is. You've worked hard. I mean, carrying a pregnancy, a healthy pregnancy, is hard work. That alone is hard work. And to have your maternal rights upstaged by a system of insecure, jealous, envious, narcissistic men is unacceptable. And that's the thought I'd like to leave you with today until I stream again tomorrow. And I really appreciate your being here, and I thank you for your time and your patience.